everyone. Welcome back to Hollywood Actors Guide to Surviving the Film and Television Industry, maybe even a little bit of theater here and there. I am your host, Jennifer Lynn Warren, coming at you just north of Los Angeles. Let's get started. Let's talk about some emotions and understanding emotion, right? So Meryl Streep said, "My job is usually to express emotion as freely as possible." So, real talk, I've never been financially stable enough to afford to go to a therapist. But I promise, it is on my list of things to do if I can ever afford that level of healthcare. And I will be sure to do it if I book a role on the level of something like Lady Macbeth, right? I am a huge fan of actors seeking therapy. And many actors you look up to, they regularly seek help. So personally, in lieu of this, I'm a huge fan of reading the works and listening to podcasts of like Tony Robbins, George Zalicki, Gary John Bishop, or even Gary V. He can be pretty intense though, to know why I may be feeling, why I am, or, or for a pick-me-up sometimes. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. They're great. There's so much great content out there because here's why. As actors, we are expected to keep our emotions near the surface at all times so that way we may access them at any moment and yet be strong enough to endure an industry that will reject you constantly and still somehow be okay and nice to work with. Think of all of that. You have to be able to access your darkest emotions or your happiest emotions in a moment's notice, and they wonder why half of us have lost our minds or can be difficult to work with at certain moments if we need to access certain emotions. But somehow we still have to be really, fun and easy going to work. It is crazy what is expected of us as actors, which is why mental health is so important. So let's talk about acting classes in that perspective for just a moment. Be very cautious of acting classes that train you to delve deep into your darkest emotions in class. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm not saying that's not a great skill. I'm saying be cautious. Think about it. There is a weird psychology to being applauded when you break down and cry and are emotionally broken in public. Let me say that again. There is a weird psychology to being applauded when you break down and cry and are emotionally broken in public. It's like you learn about Pavlov's dog, right? Like we get trained to do things and suddenly we're getting positive attention for being at our most awful, emotionally broken selves. And your brain goes, this is how I get attention. This is how I get a love. This is how I get applause. If your teacher is not teaching how to come back from that, you may find yourself bringing your dark emotions home with you and having them affect your personal life. I have a theory that this may be why we lose so many actors to drugs and alcohol and possibly even suicide. We applaud actors when they become greatly distressed for a role. And we even give them awards. If you know this, then you can develop the steps to heal if you are an actor who is going to go really method with their characters. Or you can break from reality, walk up on stage during the Oscars and slap another actor because you're so far out of it, of what is right and wrong in the world, that you're just reacting. You're listening and repeating. It's what we learn in Meisner. It's what we learn in Stanislavski. It's what we learn from Stella Adler. That's what we learn, Sanford Meisner. That's what we learn from everybody, right? But is it? So some of the things that I do after a hard shoot can be pretty simple. I'll go for a hike, or I will have a spa day at home to rest. I had a shoot in New Orleans, and even though it wasn't an emotionally demanding role, I made sure that I didn't fly home the next day. I spent a day in New Orleans just riding around, having fun, living a normal life. Meditation, yoga. I also make sure that I communicate to those that are close to me what I have just been through, because they don't know. They weren't on set with you. And sometimes if they're not in the industry, this can cause some people in your life to be a bit confused, because sometimes we come home with a post-shoot day high and seem really happy. And then a few days later, that rape scene we just shot may be giving you some PTSD based on your life experiences, and things are coming up that hadn't even come up yet, but your brain's processing. So there it is. So if your characters start to get under your skin, you need to talk to the people around you so they know you need help. Take it out with someone you trust. Please don't self-medicate. Please talk to somebody. In fact, I know I talk about We Audition on here a lot because we are sponsored by them, but that is a resource to go on there. Find an actor who has an incredible IMDb, hit them up for even 15 minutes and say, listen, I don't have an audition. I don't need to rehearse for anything, but I just shot this scene and I can't figure out why I'm in a bad mood. I was so happy for a couple of days and my husband's upset at me and my kids are like, Mom, you're being weird. And a lot of these experienced actors, and myself included, if you need to talk to somebody, hit me up and I will try to make time. We can bounce on there and I can help you process the emotions and process the trauma that you may have just put your body through, because that is what we are asked as actors to do. We are asked to put ourselves into trauma. And there's very little done to protect us. The union does nothing. The directors do nothing because they don't know. They really sometimes just don't realize. So you have to take care of yourself first. Thank you so much for listening to my very emotional rant this week. We are sponsored by We Audition. You can go on there for 25% off your lifetime membership. Use code HAG25, HAG25, stands for Hollywood Actors Guide 25. And that's it. Break a leg out there. I'm like so emotional. I can't talk at the end of this because I really, really care about you guys being okay. So break a leg, take care of your mental health, and remember, truly, honestly, this is why I end my podcast this way. You are not alone.